Welcome into Last Call Saturday morning, and we have a monster college basketball slate for you. We're going to bring in the guys from Fullcourt Press, Adam Trigger, Rob Veno from WagerTalk.com. But of course, before we do that, we got to give my man VR a good 10 to 15 minutes to go through all the sharp action. We've got the sharp action from Art to Caesar over at the Westgate Superbook as well. VR, welcome in. Thanks for letting me pivot so many times on what the heck we're going to do on this damn show. I decided mid-show last week, I said, never mind. I need VR for the first 10 or 15 minutes. We need a mediator for Trig so that he doesn't go long on games like Hampton and VCU, right? So I'm back. Everybody that missed that memo. VR is going to be with us through March Madness as well. VR, and then you're going to start pivoting to the Steam Room. Tell everybody what's going on. You're back tomorrow, Steam Room, after Last Call with Ariel Epstein. You're going to do one for your premium subscribers, but then the following week you're doing Saturday, or when does that begin?
Right, the week after the Super Bowl. So because I want to do the Super Bowl, I want to be on Sunday and make sure I'm there for all the player props and a lot of information that comes in throughout the day because the public's betting that Super Bowl day of and night before. So a lot of those props move and you get a big wave of sharp money coming in. So I want to make sure we're there for Sundays. But right after the Super Bowl, we're moving to Saturday because that's the busiest day where I get nonstop information coming in on college basketball as well as MMA because there's always a UFC card. That kicks off today. And, of course, there's NBA, NHL, all kind of things on Saturday. So I want to be able to go plus longer than an hour to answer all the questions, go over our risk management. We're having a good year. Like we've been running hot of late, but we're up for 2026, and that's what matters most. And I need to make sure my subscribers that joined with me for the whole year, that they're up as well, or else we got to revisit the risk management plan because that's the goal. Those guys that joined up with me and partnered with me for the year, that's what the Steam Room's for, to ensure if I turn in a winning year, they do as well. And I'm very confident 2026 is going to be a profitable year. Like we're really lined up well with the groups I'm working with. And so far numbers don't lie.
I love that. I sent you, I think 16 plays from the Westgate Superbook, and I will drop those in the chat for you guys so you have the entire list. But VR, before we go through that list, I kind of want to talk about something you and I spoke about off air. When you have 15, 16, 17, 18 games, right? You've got them coming in on your end. I've got them coming in on my end. How do we decipher what we're going to play? What is your recommendation? So if I say, all right, I want to bet one unit on all of them, do you think that that's the correct move? Do you think matching up with the ones that I agree with? Like, what is the play here in terms of betting this entire crazy card?
Well, I learned, Kel, to not be a psychic and just move the stuff. Like I know these guys profit long-term. That's why I've partnered up with them. So rather than try to decipher every single move they make, I just bet it and I take a percentage of the account. So I want them to do well. But then what I do is obviously I handicap the stuff and have my own opinion. Those plays that I feel strongly about, I'll bet a little more on, have a little more risk, and use for subscribers. But everything they fire, I have a piece of because they're betting them into the accounts that I take a percentage of. So it's just like you getting the information from Art and betting a unit on each one. I'm doing the exact same thing, except they're betting it for me. So they're able to get into the accounts. I give them access. And so they're locking in good numbers for me. That's where I have an advantage. Like where if they bet 620 Indiana State, they got me down at -2. I don't know what the line is right now. I don't love Indiana State. Like I didn't give them out to my subscribers. Like that's one of the games. Let's say it is actually 620 came in. Now it's up to 3.5 at places. So I'm comfortable. I know they're going to move the market. I know 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get the closing line value. And as long as I keep doing that, I'm going to be profitable. Now, again, you could increase your ROI and have a better win percentage if you narrow down that list. But that takes a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to get good at deciphering the information. Like it's taken me a long, long time. And you see even at WagerTalk how long it's taken me to learn how to narrow down that volume because there's just so much information. So yeah, I highly recommend, since you have access to it, taking risk on all of it. And then, like I do, because you have an opinion, obviously, narrow down those ones you really like and add a little more risk, and you'll keep doing fine.
Yeah, I believe last week we went 12-8. So profitable Saturday. Once again, I will take it each and every week, in addition to a couple of the games that I like. We'll get into games that we like and we have opinions on here a little bit later when Rob Veno and Adam Trigger join the show. VR, kind of go through that list I text you. We're going to go through all of it. Guys, if you do have a question, make sure you have your odds logic screen open. I need rotation numbers. It is college basketball season. There is a bazillion games on the board. Oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas if you do not have an account. VR, let's go through some of this list. I will put the full exhaustive list in the chat for you guys as well. I kind of want to know if there's anything that matches up currently with what you've got. Maybe then I say, okay, well, because it matches up with what VR's got, I'm going to go ahead and risk a second unit. Is that something that you would recommend?
Yes, that's where I look for confirmation. Exactly. When I see it in multiple accounts from different groups, really gives me confirmation, or even from the same group that I see they're firing in all the accounts. So they want a lot of risk on that game. That's exactly what I do. And that's what I'm looking for. Even with guys that move, that we provide accounts for, they provide for me. We share information. Just like you texted me this list, I do the exact same thing. I text them my list, they text me their list, and throughout the day, we're texting or DMing each other added stuff. And that's how you get confirmation. And a lot of times that's also how you see, wow, they're on both sides of this game, or there's different groups on opposite sides. There's a lot of stuff. See, Indiana State's on his list. That's on my list. The only other thing I really see that we line up, I think that's it. That's wild. Like, I have a lot of stuff, and he has a lot of stuff as well. UTEP plus 2.5. That's on my list also. Yeah, I can give you mine real quickly.
Yeah, let's hear it. I want to hear what your list is as well.
Here, let me give you my list, just in case some are opposite.
Absolutely. That too. If some are opposite, I'm just staying away.
Exactly. So let me do that real fast. Here's what I have in NBA. Let me give you NBA totals really fast. 568 under in Orlando, only because we went under 230 early in the morning. And right now, as I'm speaking, right when I jumped on, it just came through. They're going under 228 also. So under 230 and under 228 in that Orlando game. Just wanted to share that. College basketball, back to what we were talking about. Here's my list. 620 Indiana State minus 2.5. 601 NC State minus 6.5. 716 UTEP plus 2.5. 604 Minnesota plus 5.5. 811 Weber State plus 8. 664 Rhode Island plus 2. 632 New Mexico State minus 7.5. 672 Hampton plus 4.5. 665 Cornell plus 2.5. 680 Colorado minus 3. And 724 James Madison minus 4. Out of that entire list, Kel, 3 of the plays I really like that I added more, and I released to subscribers. 1 as a 4%, 2 as 3%. So out of all that list, only 3 plays I really had my own strong opinion, or they matched up with my power ratings that I use, and then I used them for subscribers. Then I have a long list of added games. I don't know if you wanted those.
Why not? We love the added games. Winners are winners are winners.
All right. They all start with 306. So I'll just give the last 3 numbers. 525 Jackson State plus 8. 557 Alabama State under 159. 521 Alabama A&M under 146.5. 504 Bryant plus 9.5. 552 Loyola Maryland plus 1. 505 Army Navy under 145. 503 Vermont under 136. 520 Jacksonville Pick'em. 535 Copen State plus 14. And 508 Holy Cross plus 5.5. This is how wise guys win. This is how that 0.5% that actually turns a profit betting sports, that keeps getting kicked out from those bigger books, and turns a profit. They fire where they see an inefficient line, They don't zero in on a single best bet. They don't narrow it down to their 3 strongest and unload. That's in fantasy land. That's if like we lived in how you want it to be. If it was easy, then everyone would do it. Like if that's how it was done. And I'm just keeping it real. This is how the betting syndicates win. They spread their risk out so wide. They don't narrow down. All this volume, you're talking about 0.1% of bankroll is on these plays. That's how they spread their risk. They don't see that there's a lock, that this is a no-loss situation. Let's unload. That's in fantasy land. That's in gambling Twitter. That's where the 99.5% live that talk about best bets and talk about a lock and games of the year and nonsense like that. The guys that actually make their money betting sports and use the sports betting market as an investment vehicle do it this way, Kel. They fire, dude. They look at those inefficiencies and they unload, knowing that their edge is very small, but it's enough to make a lot of money if you keep rolling over, keep compounding. That's how you make money in this market. You don't do it by narrowing down that lock and putting 10% of your bankroll, 5% of your bankroll. That's the quickest way to go broke. The only thing worse than that is expecting to make money using parlays.
All right. Well, I'd be doing everybody a disservice if I didn't ask about your Patty the Batty shirt. UFC today. Let's give out some sharp UFC, some of the stuff that you guys saw before we get you out of here.
Yeah, he's definitely the right side. And to save your money, I know all the gauge, he's live at 2-1, blah, blah, blah. Keep disrespecting my boy. I'll keep cashing. Let me give you a couple dogs that do jump out. Actually, I'll give you one that I'm going to add right now. Krylov, Nikita Krylov against Bukauskas. Bukauskas is coming in red hot, and Krylov's coming in off back-to-back losses since he returned to the UFC. But that's a lot of recency bias in that line. Krylov otherwise would have been a significant favorite when you look at strength of schedule. So at plus money, any kind of plus money, because this is a coin flip at worst, you got to look to the Krylov side, and you're getting plus 115 there. So I like that. I like Michael Johnson over Alex Hernandez, but he's now minus 110. I bet him as a dog. If you like that side, just letting you know that I have risk on it as well. Co-main event, I have money on Song Yadong over O'Malley at plus 180. That line's still available at DraftKings. Listen, this is the kind of bet I'm comfortable making because I'm certain it's plus EV. He's probably not going to beat O'Malley. O'Malley's probably going to edge out a decision, but this is much closer to 60-40 than it is 2 out of 3 times O'Malley wins this fight. That's what the line reflects. Strength of schedule is almost identical. Power actually goes to the side of Yadong in the stand-up. If he had a little better wrestling, I would feel more confident, even bigger bet, but I do think there's value on Yadong. So there's a dog for you. Yadong, Krylov, Johnson, and throw in Arnold Allen at plus 200 or better. You know, you got to look to Arnold Allen. He shouldn't be that big of a dog than John Silva. So there's a couple live dogs for you guys.
Appreciate you, VR. Back tomorrow on Last Call with Ariel Epstein to talk about conference championships. And then we'll see you here each and every Saturday through March Madness at Greek_Gambler. If you guys are looking to give him a follow on social, he puts out a ton of really great content. Thank you, VR, and cash them, don't trash them, as you like to say. Good luck today on the hardwood as well as the UFC. Let's bring in the guys from there's one of them. Let's bring in the guys from Full Court Press, Rob Veno, Adam Trigger. I see Adam still hasn't gotten a new camera or a new computer. So this is going to be a really fun Saturday. He's nice and blurry. If you guys are new here, this is basically going to be an extension of a show that I used to do with Chris Thurston where we just make fun of Adam Trigger the whole time. We're going to have a great Saturday, though, because we're going to learn lots about college basketball, get great insight into this card. I already dropped the sharp card from Art to Caesar at the Westgate Superbook. You guys, it was a very extensive card. So scroll back up in the comment section so you guys can find that. What's up, fellas? Happy Saturday. I heard you guys hit a little parlay yesterday on the show.
Adam, go ahead. Let him know.
He's muted. What else is new? I got him. Don't worry. I just unmuted you.
Muted by Kelly. I was not muted myself. My camera should be fine. I don't know. It shouldn't have any issues. We're back up and running over here. Yes, we did. Rob and I have been a little bit unlucky on our daily show parlay lately, where we keep splitting. Yesterday we did a 2-teamer. It hit, so we're back in business. But Kelly, we want you to be the third leg today. So if you watch Full Court Press every day, we lock in like a parlay for the show. And so we'll do it here today, but you're going to be the third leg.
All right, I will do my best. Been doing a lot of splitting on college basketball. I've been not very happy with the 50-50 because that makes you a loser because of the juice. So I'm going to try to find you guys a winner here. Maybe it's probably going to come from Art's list. like, let's just be real. At this point in time, I've told the audience, like, I know you guys spend so much time handicapping these games. And then on Saturday morning, I just get a text from Art and it goes 12-8. Or 7-5 at worst. I don't know what else to say. Yes, I do still love college basketball, but with the transfer portal, with the NIL, with coaching changes, it's almost overwhelming. I'll just be honest with you guys, which is why your show is so great, because you guys started way back at the beginning of college basketball. Now here I am in January trying to start my college basketball handicapping going, oh shit, I'm really far behind.
Yeah, I would wonder, are you getting the same numbers Art's getting, though?
No,
because it's like a lot of this stuff. Okay, no. So yeah, I mean.
You're a half point off
yeah.
at best. I mean, there was 2 games that were still available. I mean, that's just the reality. You're not going to get the same number that got bet at the Westgate Superbook.
Yeah, I think that's part of the thing that Veno and I pride ourselves on. In our show, we run it. It's typically 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., so we're doing this in real time while a lot of the stuff is moving. And I feel like most of the stuff we give out is pretty attainable for like the rest of the day.
Good. All right, guys, if you're just joining the show, I am back. I'm going to be here every single Saturday with the guys from WagerTalk's Full Court Press, Adam Trigger, Rob Veno. We're going to go through all the college basketball games that you guys want. One very important factor, I need you to go on Odds Logic and I need you to attach a rotation number. Pretty please, that will help me find these games significantly faster. Let's kind of start to go through some of these guys before we get to the parlay of the day. We'll just start off right here with Steve. 623, Georgia at Texas. Trig, I'm going to let you go first because I know you're really high on this Georgia team.
Well, actually, so a couple things here. Yeah, I have liked Georgia just in general for the last couple years. But I played Texas here, so I'm just going to open up the parlay right now, and we're going to go with Texas -2.5. Kelly, I cashed with Texas earlier this week. They were an underdog against Kentucky. I was getting 7 points. I didn't think they played particularly well, and they got the money at the end. So nice winner with them. They were coming off of a stretch where Sean Miller, and Rob will probably follow up with the exact quote because he's our quotes guy on Full Court Press, but he really had like an all-timer. To rip his team in the press after they really weren't playing in the media after they really weren't playing well. Texas kind of turned their season around, in my opinion, with those wins over Alabama and Vanderbilt. So since that happened, and since Miller sort of did his thing, I was looking for a spot to play on Texas. I got one earlier this week against the spread as a dog, but when they didn't win that game and kind of just backdoored it, and I didn't think they played particularly well, I looked at this spot today and said, man, this is actually kind of a nice matchup for Texas. Georgia will foul, and that's something you can't do against Texas. You got to defend the rim, and you can't let them live at the free throw line. And I think Texas is going to do both of those things here. If they can deny their Georgia's transition a little bit, this will be a tough matchup for Georgia. So, Kelly, I decided that I was just going to run it back here with Texas. I thought this number was a little short, even at 2.5. I think I missed the best of the best, which was like 2. But I think you can still play -2.5. So this is a 4% play for me. I wasn't sure which one I was going to give out on the show, but since this one came up, this will be our parlay opening leg. Texas -2.5. I think they get it done.
All right. Instead of asking Rob his opinion on the show, and Rob, of course, you can go in, but I think the best way for us to get the most games is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So if somebody would prefer to take a game, let me know. Craig wants to know, I love William and Mary over Hofstra. I did lay 3 with William and Mary from Art Sharp list. Rob, do you have an opinion here? Did I miss the best of the number? I think they laid 2. Of course, I laid 3.
I'm going to get to it, Kelly, but real quick, I do have to go back to what Adam was just saying about Sean Miller because he hasn't stopped. Adam just talked about how Georgia will foul. This is Sean Miller after their last game. This is a Texas problem. It has plagued us talking about the team's penchant for fouling. It's not the officials. It's not Kentucky. We are fouling the living shit out of you. You describe the foul. The team will commit it. I'm trying to eliminate our fouls. I won't give you the rest of the quote, but he's upset about the way Texas fouls. They get to the foul line a lot. So if Georgia fouls them, they'll get there. This could be a foul fest for people looking at total, which actually was bet down to start the morning and bet back up now. I think the opener of 170 now sits somewhere around 169. It had been as low as 167. Let's get to William and Mary because I've talked about them a lot on the show, Fullcourt Press. I've used them a lot on the show, but I use them primarily from a totals perspective, Kelly, rather than side, just because their unique style and pace. Brian Earl, the head coach, Adam and I have talked about him a lot. They're going to run. And at home, they make more shots than they do on the road. I mean, that seems simplistic, but it is the case with William and Mary. I looked at this game and thought, Speedy Claxton's team, Hofstra, doesn't like to do that. But William and Mary is the type of team that forces you into that. They got back on track offensively a little bit. I think this game probably gets over. I don't think Hofstra has enough in order of putting their will or enforcing their will on the opponent on the road here. So for me, it was a look on the over in this particular game. William and Mary certainly at home has been better than on the road, so can't argue anybody off of playing the side there.
All right, guys, if you have a question for the guys, drop it in the chat. Please include a rotation number. I know those are for the old guys, but that really helps me with the odds screen. All right, instead of just putting this one up, this has been all over. Everybody wants to know about the marquee game today. Texas Tech, Houston. You guys break down this game for me. Adam, I'll let you go first. There's like 8 or 9 questions about them in the chat. And here's the real reality. I want to love Texas Tech. I really, really do. But betting against this Houston team is not, I'm not sure I'm wanting to step in front of Kelvin Sampson and this team off. What are they winning? 10? Is it their 11th game in a row? I mean, they haven't lost since my birthday.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great game. It's going to be a really good one. I want to love Texas Tech here too. The first meeting was, I thought, a really good game. Texas Tech out-rebounded Houston in that game, which is encouraging if you like the Red Raiders side. Kelly, the way I look at this game, the first game could have really gone either way. I thought Texas Tech was up to the task in that game, and now you're in Lubbock. So if you're going to take one thing away, or that's going to change from the first meeting, and you say, okay, 69-65, yeah, I know some people got backdoored on that, like a late shot by Texas Tech, but still, they were right in the game at 69-65. They out-rebounded Houston. Now you're in Lubbock. Those are all things that make me think Texas Tech is probably the right side if you had to play it. This was, I don't have it up right now, but it was up to like Houston, I think was -2, -2.5. I actually make Texas Tech a very slight favorite here. I've got Texas Tech -0.7. So trending toward, being a point favorite. Man, it's always tough to bet against Houston. I never have luck doing it, like ever. It feels like if I do go against Houston, they just play their game and they get it done, which is something that Kelvin Sampson's done pretty much his entire time there. So it's going to be a really good game. I think I lean Texas Tech, but I don't think it's going to make my card.
Rob Veno, again, some of these marquee games, I know your audience is used to you guys breaking down some of these mid-majors, and that's where you can really start to find value, right? Texas Tech, 1.5, catching 1.5, catching 2 here on the odds logic screen. I think Trig's kind of right. Like in these big time matchups, that's where the bookmakers are going to spend most of their time making sure they got the number right.
Yeah, it's common knowledge, right, Kel, that they're going to know what the top 25 is going to. The numbers are going to be more accurate for sure. And you have like Adam just described, you have one game of recent history to go on, which helps set the number as well. That game, by the way, Houston at home was in trouble and went on a 20-7 run at the end of that game before the 3 that Adam just mentioned was hit by Tech to cover that spread. So Houston fans, and I'll say this, Kelly, if you get on Texas Tech, you might have to explain yourself to our good friend and colleague Ski Profit, who makes a living off of Houston first half. For those who don't follow that particular trend, Houston first half for the last 3 years really has been a moneymaker. So generally, Kelvin Sampson has them coming out hot. We'll see. A little bit of game tape for both of these teams. Maybe Houston got better as the game went on against Texas Tech and learned a couple of things about them defensively to go on that 20-7 run. We'll see, but I'm with you. This is tough to play as far as side is concerned with Texas Tech being at home. I'd probably lean that way. And you might want to lean a little bit towards under because the defense was just so tough in that first game.
All right, comment section's going crazy. They got lots of stuff to say. Good morning to the GOATs. Lots of questions about this one. I don't know why so many people want to know about Murray State, but Murray State, Sean wants to know about Murray State. Clint wants to know about Murray State. I don't even know.
Got to go to Rob there. Got to go to Rob there.
Thank you, Clint. 7-19. Murray State is a 1.5 point favorite. Okay. All right, go ahead, Rob.
Kel, I'm so glad you're asking these guys for the rotation numbers because with the cancellations, trying to find all of these games on a moment's notice.
Can you go back on that? Because I guess I didn't realize. Okay. Obviously, the comment section is joking. I'm sitting in here chilly because I got the AC on at my house in Florida. But the real reality is now a lot of these games have been moved time-wise. Yes. So pay attention, guys, that these may have been slated for later in the day and now have been moved to earlier due to the storm.
Yeah, so 7-19 Murray State, and Adam went to me because I've been a proponent of Murray State all season long. The offense here on this team has just been absolutely unstoppable. And Northern Iowa is kind of a tricky team, right? Northern Iowa, for the past decade, maybe further, they have a public reputation of being a slow-footed defensive style team. That has changed a little bit the last couple of seasons where they're such a good shooting team all the time, but they've been willing to run with opponents a little bit. And Murray State, as I just talked about William and Mary, they're going to force you into an offensive game here. I think this line move is correct. I was a little bit surprised it came out pick, even though it's a road contest. Murray State has shown no vulnerability on the road so far this season. Total has made a huge move from 143 all the way to 146.5. Not so sure I can get there at that price, Kelly, but I like Murray State. I think they're a cut above every team in this conference. Of course, the Arch Madness tournament will probably be a little different at the time, but to me, the one team that could probably stay with Murray State offensively in this league is Belmont. Northern Iowa is not that, so I would look towards Murray State.
All right, the comment section was asking me for Art to Caesar's best bet. He didn't send it. Just so you guys know, like he literally sends me an entire exhaustive list on Saturday mornings. And I get it. He already does the best betting show ever with Prez and Joe Ranieri. So he's burnt out come Saturdays now. But you guys did want to know a best bet. Had no idea this is the direction he was going in. Cornell, Harvard, under 164. So there is a best bet for those asking. Now let's get into some of these bigger games. Steve Stalling wants to know 635 North Carolina plus 6.5 at Virginia. North Carolina off a nice win here. Trig, talk to me about this ACC matchup.
Yeah, my buddy Aaron Kidd's on the way to this game right now. Big Virginia fan. Him and I talked about this game this morning. Felt like the number was pretty good, but this feels like a really good matchup for Virginia. You know, this is still a really good defensive Virginia team. It's not the Virginia teams that you've been used to the past couple of years with the pack line, Tony Bennett slowing it down. It's a lot more like VCU the past few years because, of course, Ryan Odom comes from VCU, takes over the Virginia job, brings Griff Aldrich with him from Longwood, and they play a lot more like those VCU teams, but they do a pretty good job of keeping teams out of the paint. They are going to take and make a lot of threes. That's not good if you're North Carolina. So to me, the number was pretty close to being, where it should be here. But just from a straight matchup standpoint, Kelly, I'd be really surprised if North Carolina goes on the road and wins here. So I would lay it with Virginia if I was going to bet this one.
All right. Titan CT, one of our Wager Talk insiders and regular of the Wager Talk shows, wants to know any thoughts on UConn. That's Rob Veno's backyard. They're laying 11 here to Villanova.
Yeah, it's difficult to lay it right now with them, Kelly. They're just not creating any separation in their past few games, even though when you go through the personnel on this team, they have the most dominant personnel in the league. They actually should be running away by margin in these games, considering the depth on this team. When you substitute at any position on UConn, you have a guy on the bench where there's really very little to no drop-off when the backups are in. So for UConn, it's been an offensive problem all season long. Danny Hurley, we know he can be over-emotional most of the time. He has not been thrilled with the way they do anything right now. And his biggest concern has been ball handling, turning the ball over. Villanova is not necessarily a team that's going to do that to you. At one of these times, Kel, and we run into this as sports bettors constantly, where we have the thought in our head, one of these games is going to be the breakout game, right? But you hate to step in there, be as proactive as you should, and go ahead and make that play. It could be the case here for Connecticut, but I won't do it today because Villanova's been extremely steady, played far above expectations so far this year on both ends. They shoot it pretty well. Until I see one really, really dominant performance out of Hurley, who actually said this team doesn't have the killer instinct that the team that won the title 2 years ago had. So for me, it would be a pass. I just can't. UConn's probably still overinflated in oddsmaker power rating numbers.
All right, almost 3,100. Sorry, Trey, go ahead.
I just want to throw one thing in on UConn. Yes, I did wear the UConn
jacket on.
I got the UConn jacket on. You want to know why, Kel? You're over here saying it's chilly. It's 7 below zero here right now. So had to wear the jacket inside today. I saw both of these teams play in person last week, and so my takeaways were exactly what Rob said. UConn kind of looks uninterested in a lot of these games as bigger favorites. I was at the Seton Hall UConn.
Why do you think that is? Is that a coaching thing? Is it because these kids are one and dones now and then they transfer somewhere else for more? Like what's going on with UConn or some of these other bigger name teams?
The Big East is historically bad. It's a mid-major league this year. And so UConn, I think they're bored. I just think they're uninterested. They had an 18-point lead against Seton Hall, kind of went to sleep, started taking threes, let Seton Hall get back in that game. It's happened in a lot of these games this year. I kind of think UConn just crushes today because they're back at home. Villanova's a mid-major team. I'm sorry. Like I was at the Nova St. John's game on Saturday night. First of all, it was in Philly in the big arena. Nova only gets 15K. Like that should tell you where Nova's at as a program right now. That should be sold out for St. John's on a Saturday night. It's just a mid-major roster. Like Duke Brennan comes over from Grand Canyon. He's a mid-major big. He's going to have a hard time with UConn's front court. So I do think today's UConn, the day UConn slammed someone. Villanova's scrappy. Like they're going to do their best to hang around. But man, if you could have got in on that opener, I know our buddy CT Betts got in on the opener at UConn 9.5. Even if you got 10 or 10.5, like I actually think I'd play it up to like 12. I could see UConn just flexing here finally and really running someone out of the gym.
All right, 3,200 watching live, 2,100 on X. Shout out to you guys for hanging out with us here on this Saturday morning. If you have a question about any college basketball game, drop it in the chat. Just please include a rotation number so I can give the up-to-date line from Odds Logic. You don't have an Odds Logic screen, oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas, and you can get a free week. Andrew Wojcicki, I always screw his last name up, and it just went off, so now I can't even read it. SMU minus 11.5 versus Florida State. I'm sorry, I don't have a rotation number. And then he comes right back and says, it's 7-10. Talk to me about this ACC matchup, Rob. And then I want to kind of just insert the parlay part of the day for all of you guys that are, coming in. Instead of just giving it at the end or at the beginning, Rob, let me know what your parlay leg is.
Oh, you want my parlay leg? Okay.
Yeah. Well, talk about SMU first.
Yeah, let's get through that first. And I don't, Trig always beats me on how cold it is because I'm in sort of the mid-Atlantic here. We're only -2, and the dog is extremely ticked off, the yellow lab, because he can't be walked this morning. So it's just that cold right now. SMU, a team that Andy Enfeld up and down the floor. Florida State with Luke Locks, the new head coach. It's a chuck threes and run team. So for me, this kind of fits right into my alleyway of loving to play overs, where I think that the number is a little bit off. This one's high, obviously 164.5, been bet down by 1 point, but I still don't think it's high enough. There was a part of me that wanted to just single it out and play the SMU team total over 87.5 here because FSU just really doesn't defend much. The game is too open floor all the time. So you get a lot of wide open looks. And the same will probably be for Florida State. Problem with Florida State, guys, is that you just don't know which day they're going to make those threes. So team total might be the best route here, SMU, but I do think full game is in play as well. And Kelly, really quick, I'll just hop right off of that and go to the parlay leg for you so that we don't have to come back to me again. Illinois, Purdue today. I was interested to see how Illinois played without Kylan Boswell, their point guard in their last game. And, you watch that game and then you get a few reports out of Illinois, and they talk about actually being a better offensive team. They lose some on the defensive end with Boswell and his, top of the key defense, on ball defense. But what they gain in floor spacing, and I think you saw it out of Stojakovic the other day, he had 30 plus points in that game. They just have threats from all over the floor right now, which I think is going to give Purdue a lot of trouble. However, on the defensive end, like I just said, their perimeter defense is going to suffer without Boswell. So this game, I think the money was right. It opened 152.5. It's been pushed to 154.5. I don't think that's high enough. I think we probably see this game get to 157 plus. So I'll use that as my parlay leg today. Illinois, Purdue over 154.5. That's 675, 676 in the rotation, guys.
Don't mind me right now. I'm just betting some college basketball. I can confidently report, and I actually just bet the wrong unit size. So let me go back and rebet that again. All jokes aside, UTSA plus 12 just got bet by a sharp group that I like to follow. Rotation number 662. So I'm going to get that in while we get some more questions answered here in the chat. All right, here's a good one. 667, 668. Miami Lane just under a field goal at Cuse. It's his gambling weak spot, Trig, but he needs to know the home team has a chance in the Dome today.
Yeah, they always have a chance. The problem is this team is they should be a lot better than they are. So you come off of the loss to Virginia Tech. Like it's probably a spot where they find a way to get it done. Problem with Syracuse, they're the most poorly coached team in the country. Red Autry should have never had the job in the first place. So to say he needs to go is like the understatement of the year. He should have never had this job in the first place. Syracuse defensively, they're very good. I would say they've been worse defensively recently than they were that stretch earlier in the year where they beat Tennessee and played in the players. And, I feel like they need to get back to that a little bit. But Donnie Freeman gives them an offensive threat that they didn't have earlier in the year. If William Kyle can get to the rim, this team should be winning games. Like Rob and I kind of were just sort of like flabbergasted on Thursday that they lost that game to Virginia Tech. They're a hard team to back right now because they find ways to beat themselves. But I do think at home that this spot kind of makes sense for them to get a win, and you'll have more than 20,000. We don't get scared of some cold and snow here in central New York, Kelly. The Dome will be rocking at 2 p.m. today.
All right, I'm going to interject myself because I have a buddy texting me about K-State today. I was supposed to be at this game, and then K-State just lost like 11 games in a row, and I was like, I don't care. I'm not going to go and support this team. Oh, Seth has a question about it. Perfect. So I don't have to be the bad guy. 799, 800. We have to talk about KU K-State. KU minus 4.5 does seem right. Here is the reality. This K-State basketball team has a lot of issues. Starting the year, they lived and died by the 3. Then they got bit by the injury bug, went on a just awful, I think it was 4 or 5 game losing streak. I know I said 11. 4 game after Nebraska, right? Went to the wire with Nebraska on a neutral court, lost a Bowling Green at home. That was insane. Then come right back, beat up on a couple cupcakes, lose 5 games in a row. Played Utah Tuesday night. Everybody said, oh, you got to lay 8.5 with K-State. I said, are you out of your minds? You cannot lay points with this team. But I will say, Rob, because this line is so short, it is a little fishy, right? Like I would make KU probably 6.5 point favorite here, even with their own injuries. Obviously, Bill Self was hospitalized last week with a really bad case of the flu. Looks like he's going to be there. Kind of break down this game for me as a K-State fan because I don't even want to watch it. Isn't that sad? That's sad. That's where I'm at with K-State basketball. I canceled my flight. Now I don't even want to watch it.
It is kind of sad because when healthy, Kelly, at least from the offensive standpoint, K-State's fun to watch. PJ Hegarty continues to do his thing. But the hesitation here to get to Kansas, and I don't know, I still want to get to Kansas because they're so red hot right now. But the hesitation is obviously the status of Darren Peterson. Gets hurt again. Questionable for today. K-State, as you mentioned, has injuries of their own. They lose Abdi Bashir Jr. for this game, second leading scorer. So they're just out so many pieces that Jerome Tang had to go to the standard coaching quote book and just say, stuff like, we're going to continue to fight. We have guys in here that play hard. It's all well and good until you're only dressing 9 guys, which is what they'll do today for this game. So Kansas has been on a really good run as of late, discovered offense, played pretty good defense. They've got multiple scoring threats in that starting five, Melvin Council Jr., et cetera. I find myself still wanting to play Kansas at this price, just in case Darren Peterson does get listed in and the line goes from 4.5 to 6.5 immediately, because there's a lot of injury chasers out there in the market that move it quick that way. But that's probably the reason for the hesitation right now, is folks see Peterson's got a question mark next to his name and just don't want to get involved.
And I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely warranted. But here's my question. Do you guys take into any of these coaching edges, right? Jerome Tang, in his good and his bad moments, owns Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks in Manhattan. He has won all 4 games in Manhattan there. And I kind of have to wonder if that doesn't come into play here, because when you talk about coaches possibly getting fired, they're on the hot seat, they're not having a great season. Winning a game against your rival can all of a sudden change your entire trajectory of your season. Do you have any thoughts on that? Does that come into play at all in any of your handicaps, not K-State or other teams?
You want to go, Adam, or you want me to step in?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does for me. Especially when you start to get into this point in the season, you get toward the end of January into February, it does seem like that home spot matters more. Like the put a Band-Aid on the season type game, where it's like, okay, if we can get this one, it cures some of, like, just the bad that happened from in November, December, January. I think you see this every year. So yeah, like these types of games, in my opinion, the fishy line, Manhattan, Kansas, low spread, like spot game, become more appealing in February as you get toward the end of the season. It's almost like, for lack of a better term, sometimes teams have like the come to Jesus moment, right? Where it's like, okay, like we just need, like, it's almost like, okay, this is our chance to regroup and give it like the final push toward conference play, and maybe like making something out of this year. So yeah, you're playing a dangerous game, I think, playing some road teams in this type of spot going forward, especially in a scenario, Cal, where there is a bit of success for Kansas State against this team, and they get up for them, and Tang seems to have a good game plan year in, year out. So yeah, I think that should be in the handicap here.
And listen, I considered it. I had 3 games written down for my parlay for you guys. And I thought, and I'm not going to be a homer. I'm not going to give out K-State, but I do feel like it's very fishy. It looks very easy just to lay it here with Kansas without one of their best players. Titan CT, one of our WagerTalk insiders, wt.buzz/insiders to join. Any thoughts on Stanford, Cal? Rob, I'll go back to you here. This is how do I say it? This is like middle of the pack ACC. It sounds so weird to still say that 2 California teams are in the ACC, but these are not either team that I would have had on my radar, but Titan CT is digging deep today.
Yeah, and he's not giving me a rotation number as I frantically scroll to find what the current number on the game is. Stanford. Cal,
he has 4.5. I don't know if that's still the current line, because you're right. I have to. Odds logic, you know what I'm going to do? I need like the control F. There it is. Cal. Let's see what we got here. If I can find it. Of course, it's not on here. Let's see if I can find Stanford. See if I can find the current line. There it is. Rotation number 809, 810, 5s. Now pretty much across the odds logic screen outside of couple of prominent offshores. So 146, 146.5 pretty much is the total here.
Yeah, and the total, in my estimation, is off in this one, Kelly. One thing you can count on from Stanford is their freshman point guard, Okori, at any moment against a lesser defensive team can explode for 25 plus. That Stanford offense has been very good at times when they're faced with not so good defensive class, which Cal fits into. And of course, the California side, you get the same exact thing out of Mark Madsen, a team that plays with pretty good pace, a team that has shot the ball extremely well, especially from distance this year. This is one of those cases where when you play a lot of totals, you'll notice that most of the time these numbers are just predicated off of overall season results, right? They're not necessarily due to specific matchup, which is what I like to dig into, or recent history, recent 3-4 games, 5 games of what the team has done. But for both of these teams, just to put it concisely, they play far better offensively when they're faced with lesser defensive capabilities. And in this case, I would expect Okori to lead Stanford to, 76, 77. And for Cal to match that, I put this game in the low 150s. And we're sitting here with a total that's actually been pushed up already, but that number still sits 146. So I think the number on the total side is extremely low. As far as playing the side, I don't know that I'd find an edge, and maybe Adam's got a number on it that he made where he does come up with an edge, but I don't find an edge playing either side here in this game.
Rob, do you primarily do a lot of totals? So like if somebody was looking to partner up with you for the rest of college basketball season over at WagerTalk, what should they be expecting? Are you a dog better like me? A lot of totals, mid-majors?
And I think it's why the package that Adam and I have fits so well for everybody. Adam doesn't play totals. I don't play sides. Predominantly, I don't play sides. I shouldn't say don't, never say don't, because I do. But when you purchase that package, Full Court Press, you get the combination of both. It's been a great season for me so far. I think it's last 7 weeks since December 1st, up over 40 units, number 2 over at WagerTalk. So it's been a good college basketball season from that perspective. But he's always in with sides. I'm in with totals. If you like the mix, that's the package to buy, Full Court Press. 3 days, $59. I think I've got it right now, Adam. We practiced this a lot, our own package, but I think that's correct. 3-day package, $59.
All right, wagertalk.com. You guys can partner up with Rob and Adam, the Full Court Press duo, every single day on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. They go live 10 a.m. Eastern to bring out all of the college basketball knowledge. Let's keep it going. Adam, you're up next. 825 is the rotation number. Arkansas, LSU. Coach Calipari had some interesting words to say the other day about NIL and the transfer portal. Do you think he's making excuses?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, his team. So as I look for that number or look for that one here, like Arkansas, I said this last week. I came on the show last week. Arkansas was playing Georgia. Felt like they were a little bit undervalued as a dog. They got crushed. Now, to Arkansas's credit, they came out in midweek and got arguably the win of their season, right? Blowing out Vanderbilt. So, like, for me, I still think Arkansas is really good. I saw Brian Power and I went to the Arkansas-Michigan State game earlier this year. Michigan State won by 3. And we both looked at each other as we were walking out of the arena and said, like Arkansas was like the more impressive team. That's the team I think I'm more impressed with. They've got a lot of young talent. I think it's just going to be up to Calipari to sort of do what he does, Cal. This is what John Calipari has done his entire sort of career since Kentucky, right? Where he has a lot of young guys. They're typically raw at the beginning of the season. They're going to have those roadblocks in November, December, maybe even early January, but then they start to play their best ball. His good teams start to really figure it out February and on. So to me here, you look at, De'Don Thomas came back last time out for LSU, but was really a non-factor. 17 minutes, only scored 2 points, 1 of 8 shooting from the field. I suppose you could, it can't be much worse than that, right? He's probably going to play better. But if he's not, like for me, if he doesn't dominate for LSU's probably getting blown out. And I don't know that you can count on him, like even playing like his full minutes if he only played 17 in his most recent game. So huge splits home road when Arkansas plays at home. They're so much better. I would not want to fade Arkansas at home here. This could be a blowout. I'll lean the Razorbacks.
That is what this is. This is Full Court Press on Saturdays, but the difference is I'm here to dictate the pace of the show and only give Adam 45 seconds per breakdown. All jokes aside, real quickly, I'm going to give you guys my parlay leg. I just decided it is Oklahoma State plus 10. I think you can get a 10.5. I'm looking at the odds logic screen right now. And I think if you look at a couple of prominent offshores, we're going to get 10.5. We might even get 11. This one got moved to 3 p.m. Eastern today there in Stillwater. So put a little asterisk next to that. Iowa State 30-1 ticket in my pocket to win the whole thing. But I like this Oklahoma State team. Really scrappy win at home against K-State. Really scrappy loss on Tuesday at TCU. This team wants to play hard and they want to play fast. And those are the types of teams I like that match up against Iowa State. Yes, Iowa State has a smothering defense. Yes, they can bang down the 3 ball. So this game could get out of hand. But I think here in Stillwater, we are going to see an absolute and utter just back and forth type game that keeps it within the number. So give me Oklahoma State plus 10.5. Maybe we get an 11 before kickoff here, or kickoff for tip-off here. My brain is still in football season. 3 p.m. Eastern. That is my parlay leg. No, I don't think they're going to win the game, but I think this is going to be a much closer game than the line suggests. Big 12 basketball, Adam. This team used to be in the Big 8. We're going to ask Rob Veno, why is Nebraska only minus 4.5 today? And I do find that rather intriguing as well, Rob Veno, because Nebraska, I stepped in front of the other night with Washington and it was dead. I was like, why did I step in front of the team that's won 23 in a row? Fred Hoiberg has my number, and Washington got the backdoor cover for us like you will not believe. Now I'm looking at stepping in front of Nebraska once again here, just laying or taking just a little 4.5 with Minnesota.
Yeah, it is interesting, Kelly, because Nebraska has shown the capability to go on the conference road. And let's face it, they got down 16 in the second half to Indiana and somehow rallied and won that game and built all kinds of confidence. This is a team where, you've got the so-called stretch fours, stretch fives, where Nebraska can drag big guys away from the opposing big guys away from the rim and still shoot threes. For Minnesota, you read some of these quotes and they're so dependent upon Cade Tyson to score point. If he doesn't score big in this game, I'm not sure how one Minnesota player overcomes the team effort that is Nebraska so far this season. So, in a lot of these conference games, you can turn to the team going on the road and not having a huge dichotomy between home road results. That doesn't exist for Nebraska. Laying 4.5, unless the idea is that the pressure of the undefeated season is getting to them, and they always have the bullseye on their chest now when they walk in to opposing arenas. And Williams Arena is kind of unique, that place where you step down to the bench and fall and break your ankle because it's such a steep drop. But I don't know that Minnesota has enough here. Nico Medved is a head coach that Adam and I both like. Adam, we've explained his offensive principles on the show a lot. I just don't know that he's got the manpower, the firepower to beat Nebraska, which has just shown such resiliency all year long. I wouldn't step in front of them right now. Let's see if they get lost, something to like what happened to Vanderbilt, right? Vanderbilt had no losses. All of a sudden, it's a 3-loss team, a lot of bad road results. It hasn't happened to Nebraska yet, so I'm not willing to step in front of it now.
All right, guys, we got about 7 minutes left of the show. So we're going to do some rapid fire to get through these questions. Adam, you are up first. Another Adam wants to know rotation number 613, 614, Providence versus Georgetown. Since you're the Big East guy now, and you said that this conference is not any good. Oh boy, I was surprised you didn't get some hate in the comment section for that, but everybody must agree with you.
It is the worst Big East conference of my lifetime. It's not close. It is not even remotely close. And I've been on this earth for 39 and a half years, and its conference has never been worse. I'll die on that hill all day. These are two perfect examples. We have Providence, who's essentially like, I don't know, Rob and I had some intel earlier this year that like the locker room might not be in the best place. It looks like that's kind of played out. Now you have 3-4 guys hurt. Jason Edwards is out again here. Although I got to be honest, like I haven't thought that Jason Edwards being out has made much. Like they almost look better a couple of times without him, which is crazy to say. There's a leading scorer, but I think they've actually played better on the defensive end in some instances with Edwards out. And now, Kelly, it's been a couple games. So it's like, it's been a couple games. So something we talk about on Full Court Press often is the further you get away from like an actual injury, once you get 3-4 games away from the injury, the injury is far less relevant, in my opinion. Ed Cooley's just like has no answers at this point. I'm not even going to go into what he said the other day about like just being, it was just so ridiculous. Like you've probably seen it at this point, but what I think here, and I'm not interested to see what Rob has to just say from a number standpoint. I kind of see both of these teams showing up to like play hard today. I think it probably means this one's under 161. It just feels like 5.5 point spread. It's a tighter game. Providence a little bit better defensively without Edwards. And I kind of lean toward the under, even though I usually don't play totals.
All right, speaking of totals, Rob Veno, this one is for you. Sacred Heart team total over 74.5. Niagara has a shaky defense, question mark?
Yeah, Sacred Heart, they got the best of me the other day because I used it as part of the parlay leg. Team total over, didn't get there. on that particular day. I had played them the game before when they came through. I will say this, since the return of Anquan Hill for Sacred Heart, they've been a much better offensive team. I would expect, I'm a big bounce back guy where when good offensive teams go sour for a game, I'll come right back with them the game after. So I totally agree with the chat on that instance that Sacred Heart should get up and over that number today. Niagara is a slow-footed team. Obviously, with a head coach that can coach very well and try and dictate their tempo, but not against Sacred Heart, I wouldn't think. The pace will be there. The points should be there. So I'm in total agreement with that comment.
All right, guess what? You get it again. Here you go. St. John's Xavier, Adam. Can we trust St. John's and this big number? Last year, St. John's was one of the best second half teams in the country, and that's all I did. I just waited till halftime, bet St. John. This year, we've seen them not be as prevalent in the second half.
Yeah, I made St. John's Twitter mad last night because I agreed with the guy that Fanta flipped out on. And I was like, they kind of are trash. And St. John's Twitter was like up in my like mentions immediately, making a case for this team. And it's like, you know, I was at the game on Saturday. They were clearly better than Villanova. I do think one thing I'll say about St. John's is I think that they're probably heading in the right direction. So in a game like this now, do I want to turn around and kind of bet them in this spot on the road? Not really. But for me, like they're becoming the clear second option in the Big East, behind UConn. And from where they were now I think this was the argument we were having, where they were coming into the season, top 5, right? I think they came into the season ranked like 5th or 6th. Like they're just not that. They're just not that. There's no way they even play their way to that, in my opinion. But efficiency wise on KenPom, pretty good. Like I believe top 30 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. And they're going to start racking up wins against the Big East because this conference is really bad. Rob and I talk about Xavier all the time. It's really year 0 for the younger Patino there. Doesn't have a lot of talent, trying to sort of lay the foundation for his program. It's not one I'm going to bet, but I suppose St. John's probably wins this game. And if they do, maybe they can, like Xavier, if they're not playing well, will get crushed. So that's my concern, would be like, don't really want to take the points, because if Xavier doesn't have it, they tend to get blown out.
All right, we got about 3 minutes left. I'll go to Rob Veno with this one. Michigan State, rotation number 610, 17.5. Is this too many points? I can confirm that a sharp group did play Michigan State last night at the Westgate Superbook. I believe they laid 16.5.
Yeah, there's some Maryland injury concerns here too, Kel, which doesn't make it any easier for that team, which hasn't played well for Buzz Williams, first-year head coach there at Maryland, still trying to figure some things out. A decent offensive capability, but against Michigan State's defense, I don't know that works here. I would almost be willing to play the Maryland team total under in this particular instance, because they are shy offensive threats here. That number, for what it's worth, is 62.5 for those of you who want to look that way. Maybe a little Maryland under action against this Michigan State defense. The number at 18.5, I don't know that I could get to, but probably team total Maryland under.
All right, Trig, last question for you. Can West Virginia hang with Arizona today? This West Virginia team has been interesting to watch. That's the best adjective I can to describe Arizona. We could argue is a top 3 team in the Big 12. I might say that it's Iowa State. I might say that it could be Houston. But Arizona is definitely a top 5 team in the KenPom rankings. Break down this one for me, and then I've got one more total for Rob Veno before we get out of here.
Yeah, I thought the number on this one was pretty close to what it should be. What I found interesting was I feel like they kind of threw West Virginia a bone with the start time. This is a really early start, and it's, of course, the back end of the back-to-back out in the desert. So really no travel here for West Virginia. They came out earlier the week. They played Arizona. That was, of course, the pretty easy game for them. It was the Bobby Hurley like meltdown. I'm kind of like done coaching game where they just eased past Arizona State. No real travel there to Tucson. And then you throw West Virginia like a 2:00 Eastern start, which is, of course, like 11 or 12 local time. I don't know if they do daylight savings or not in that part of the country. But again, I think that kind of helps them. I think you kind of create a scenario where maybe Arizona sort of sleepwalks early. And then maybe you're talking about 18.5 being like a pretty attainable number. Of course, Arizona was home earlier this week. just sort of like boat race Cincinnati. So yeah, I could see West Virginia maybe catching Arizona off guard in the early tip. And if they can get them off guard for like the first 10, 15 minutes, Cal, it may be difficult for them to win that game by 19. So I'll lean with the points there.
All right, really quickly, Rob, before I give you the total question, Josh wants to know if you've got any quick leans in the NBA. And then you can answer Jason Jones's question about the total rotation number 823, Tennessee versus Alabama. Also, let everybody know where they can watch Profit Picks. That is you and Ski Profits NBA show.
All right, I'm looking at the clock. I'll go as quick as I can here. First of all, for me and Ski show, Ski Profits, Profit Picks. He always has me on as a guest analyst each and every day, Monday through Friday. We go at 1:45 East, 10:45 Pacific, run through the entire NBA card. We don't just select individual games, full card coverage of the NBA. We did get into the NFL Conference Championships this week. If you want to go back and replay Friday's show. So once again, WagerTalk TV, Profit Picks every Monday through Friday, 10:45 a.m. Pacific, 1:45 on the East Coast. The total, Kelly, you asked Tennessee and Alabama. I'm in the business of never playing Alabama unders right now. It's interesting. Alabama, another team that gets a big from the NBA, now coming back to Alabama, but the question mark is beside his name today. So I don't know that that's going to make any difference, but I would probably look over there. Jacoby Gillespie, the former Belmont guard, has been great for Tennessee as of late as far as scoring is concerned. Boy, you asked me one more thing, and I don't even know if I remember. Maybe it was promo me and Adam. A full court press package, 3 days, $59. You get every play Adam and I release, including any 5% plays. I know Adam's been firing a few 5% lately. You can pick it up any 3 days, $59. Every play released. Adam on sides predominantly, myself on totals predominantly.
All right, guys, the question in the chat wants Art Sharp plays. There they are once again. Almost 5,000 of you guys watching with us live here on the Saturday edition of Full Court Press. Kelly Stewart, Adam Trigger, Rob Veno. These guys will be back Monday morning, 10 a.m.
Cal, you got it. You got to recap the parlay. We do that at the end.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. Adam, how about this? I will let you recap the parlay.
Yeah.
Rob, sorry, Rob, what was your leg with the number again? I just want to make sure I have it right.
Yeah, it was Illinois Purdue over 154.5.
Yeah, so we do this as the show goes on. During our show during the week, the numbers always move because we're right in that 10 to 11 a.m. slot. So we'll tweak it a little bit. Cal, you had Oklahoma State plus 10.
10.5. We'll say 10.5.
Okay.
For ethical purposes, we'll see what it ends up closing at. I think everybody's going to want to bet Iowa State in that. And look, rightfully so. That one is moving. That one's going off at 3 p.m. Eastern. So you guys still have a little time for that one. Yeah.
So what I'm going to do just to make sure no one gets hooked in the parlay, so Texas minus 2.5 is a 4% client play for me. That's one of my client plays today.
Oh, giving it out for free, are we?
I'm giving it out for free. But for the parlay,
I don't think I did.
Hey, I got quite a few today though, so that's the other reason I did it. I have a couple 4%ers, so Texas minus 2.5, one of my 4% plays. I'm going to use Texas money line in the parlay because it's a 3-teamer, so we're already getting plus odds. So it's like that way because I do think it might be 3.5 some places now, and I don't want to force you to take a bad number. So for the 3-teamer, we're going to go Illinois Purdue over 154.5 for Rob, Oklahoma State plus 10.5 for Kelly, and then it will be Texas on the money line for me. Obviously, shop that around, and when I get off air, I'll calculate it, and if we hit, I'll make sure I talk about it. Well, win or lose, we're going to talk about it on Monday's show. That's what we do every day on Full Court Press, Cal.
Yes, double the firepower is where it is at. AB covers right here. You guys can go to WagerTalk.com. Full Court Press, 3 days, all access for Rob Veno, Adam Trigger, $59. No coupon code needed. Thank you, guys. Have a profitable Saturday. Thank you to everybody in the comment section for participating, especially those Wager Talk insiders. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of their weekend, and go Broncos.